The most important work of your life is the work you do within your soul. This is Home Improvement for the Soul.
Hello, and welcome to Home Improvement for the Soul. I'm Maddie Cheers, and I'm very happy to be with you again. Today, I want to take a look at the Haudenosaunee Great Law of Peace for obvious reasons. And it's very interesting that over 1,000 years ago, these people were given the formula for how all war could end. And this came through a messenger called the Peacemaker. He was a messenger from the Creator, and ultimately 5 nations came to live together in peace after a long period of war. So I'm going to start by telling you the story of the journey of the Peacemaker. Now, this is a very, very short version, and in deference to my wonderful Haudenosaunee teachers, otherwise known as the Iroquois or Iroquois Confederacy, in deference to them, let me say that this is a much longer story. If I were going to tell you the whole thing, it would take 10 days. We do not have 10 days, and I do not know the whole thing. But I do know enough that I think when you hear this story, you can think about for yourself how we can get to peace, and if we really want peace. Do we want it? So, the story of the great peacemaker. Now, they say that a long time ago, all of us, when human beings first got here, we were given instructions on how to be human beings. Now, everything on the planet has instructions about how they're supposed to be what they're supposed to be. A deer has instructions about how to be a deer, and it always grows up to be a deer. A tree has instructions about how to be a tree, and it always grows up to be a tree. People are a little different. We have 3 basic instructions that we have to think about and follow. Number 1 is to be grateful for what we have and not worried about what we don't have. Number 2, we should treat each other and all of nature with kindness and respect. And number 3 is to live in clans. Now, that's very different for us. Clans are groups of related families among the Haudenosaunee, and the clans came long, long before the nations came. There are 9 of them: snipe, eel, bear, turtle, hawk, deer, beaver, heron, and wolf clans. Each clan is named after an animal. Each clan has certain responsibilities for keeping track of medicines and foods and all different parts of their history, and they work together to make sure that everything is available to everyone. Now, the clans are special in that they follow the lineage of the women. So, if you are Bear Clan, then your mother is Bear Clan, your grandmother is Bear Clan, all your children are Bear Clan. But your father comes from a different clan. Now, the good thing about this is it's a way to keep track of who should marry who, because we don't want to marry people we're too closely related to, because then our children could be unhealthy, right? So, the clan system worked for health and also for the well-being of the children for the next 7 generations. So in this way, if you're raised in a village with your entire family, where women are in charge, everybody's growing up to respect women and men, jobs are seen as equal, everybody gets what they need as long as they participate, everybody has fun together, does ceremonies together, rites of passage together, everyone in your community loves you. So we're going to refer to this as a healthy, loving community. So they say that as long as people were grateful, respectful, kind, and lived in healthy, loving communities, we were happy. Doesn't that make sense? But on the whole planet, we're the only ones that forget stuff. A deer does not forget how to be a deer, and it grows up to be a chipmunk. So we forget, and when we forget to be grateful, we become greedy and jealous. And once we are greedy and jealous, are we kind to each other? No. Do we treat each other with respect? No. Are our communities loving? No. They're hateful and blaming and, oh, those people, they have more than us. No, we have to go over there. We're right, they're wrong. And they say that that's how the war started. As more people moved into this area, they started to get in fights. Now I should have this land. Now you should have this land. Now I should have that stuff. Now I should have this stuff. And they forgot all about being grateful and kind and respectful. And so they say when these wars broke out, it started with stealing. The men would steal from each other. They were jealous and they were greedy. They just wanted more. And eventually the wars became about revenge. Those guys hurt us. We're going to go out there. We're going to hurt them back. And they say that at this time, the clan mothers, the women who ran the village, they went to the men and they said, "Men, stop it. End these wars. Everyone is suffering. Our children don't have enough to eat. They don't have enough clothes. We can't get enough water. Stop these wars now." And the men looked at the women and they said, "You wimpy women. We don't have to listen to you. We're bigger and tougher and stronger than you are. You try to stop us, we're going to kill you too." And they threatened their own wives and mothers and grandmothers. And they say that at that time, the whole world turned upside down. And the wars got so bad that they say the rivers ran red with the blood of men, and the women's eyes were always filled with water, because they were crying for their sons who had died in battle. They were crying for their children who were suffering. They'd been kicked out of power, so there was nothing they could do about it. And the men were the only ones choosing the leaders, and they were only choosing leaders that wanted war and revenge. And they call this the dark and troubled times. Well, things got so bad that they say the Creator sent down a messenger in the form of a little boy who would deliver a plan for ending all wars and bringing peace so that everyone's children could grow up to be safe and healthy and happy. Well, from the time this little boy was born, his mom and his grandma could tell he was really different. And they knew that he was so special that if they let him be raised in the village, he would just get taken away and taught how to fight and kill. And if that happened, all of his specialness, all of his kindness would disappear. And so they snuck him out of his Huron village and they took him far away and they raised him in the woods. And in the woods, he could learn from mom and grandma and nature. Did you know nature is our oldest teacher? If we watch nature closely enough, she can teach us everything we need to know, not just about survival, but how to be good human beings. So they say that grandma would take this little boy out on a walk, and these nature walks would happen just about every day. And one day, she took him out to look at a mountain lion. Now, if you watch mountain lions long enough, they're going to kill another animal, right? But they're only doing it because they have to survive. And do they ever kill more animals than they need? No. And as long as mountain lion A hunts in his territory over there, and mountain lion B stays in his territory over here, do they fight with each other? No. But what happens if B crosses into A's territory? They fight. And so the little boy looks at the mountain lions and he thinks, there's a lesson here for human beings. If we never take more from nature than we really need, there will always be enough for everybody, and then we won't have to fight. If we don't go into somebody else's place without asking, if we don't steal from them, then we won't get into fights. And he thinks about the lessons of the mountain lion and many other things, the trees, the plants, all the animals, the deer, the rabbits, every animal, the birds, the eagle. All animals have something to teach us. All aspects of nature are there to show us harmony and balance, the things that we often forget. So this little boy grows up to be 13 years old, and at 13, he has come up with an entire plan for peace. He calls this plan, in their language, Gana Lagoa. Gana Lagoa translates to mean the great good, but we usually call it the great law of peace. Now at 13, he goes out to teach everybody how to live in peace. Do they want to listen to him? No. As a matter of fact, they want to kill him. Sound familiar? So he goes out anyway, and he realizes he's going to need help. And the first person to help him is a woman. Her name is Jagunsase. Now, she is the last woman in charge of a village. Now, there are several versions of who she is, but I'm going to tell this version that I think resonates with us today. They say that she had this trading village. She still had food. She still had medicine. So if the men who got hurt in the wars or got hungry or needed clothes or needed food, they had to come to her, and they had to trade in order to get it. So her village was very wealthy, very well-to-do. And she meets the peacemaker because the peacemaker sees, whoa, there's a lot of men coming here that are from the wars. If I could talk to them, if I could tell them the plan for peace, then maybe they would end the wars. So he meets Jagunsase, and at first she's kind of suspicious. She's not sure she wants the wars over. I mean, after all, she and her people are doing pretty well with these wars going on. But then she decides, well, let me hear what he has to say. Now, he was a very, very wonderful person. He radiated the power of the Creator. He radiated the power of peace. And so he told her the whole great law of peace. And even though he was a stutterer, she listened to him. And as she listened, she felt her heart healing. She felt her greed slipping away. She felt the love of people returning to her. She felt a responsibility of being a clan mother return to her life, return to her heart. And she said, you know what? I can help you. When these men come to me, instead of making them trade me to get food and to get clothing and to get water and to get medicine, instead of making them give me things, I'm going to make them give me their time. And in that time, I will teach them the great law of peace. And then hopefully they will take the great law back to their own villages, and peace will spread village to village to village. Brilliant, right? And for doing this, for becoming the first person to help the peacemaker teach peace, she is called the mother of all the nations. And the peacemaker promises her that when the wars are over, men and women will have equal power in the government again. Now, he leaves her in her village to do her work for peace, and he goes on to meet the second peace helper. This man is called Iowanta. Though in books, it looks like you should pronounce his name Hiawatha. It's not. It's pronounced Iowanta. Although the 5 nations, there are some variations in that pronunciation. But I learned it Iowanta. So, Iowanta was an Onondaga war chief. He was one of the guys leading everybody into battle. He gets hurt in the war. He goes to Jagunsase's village. He sees this beautiful, peaceful village. He hears the great law of peace, and he becomes the first war chief to feel ashamed of himself. He is so ashamed of all the misery and pain he has brought to his people and to everyone that he lays down his weapons of war and promises he will never pick them up again. He will never hurt another human being. He learns the whole great law of peace. He takes it back to his Onondaga village, and the men are listening to him. They don't want to fight. They're tired of war. They're listening to this plan. They're seeing the fairness in it. But in his village, there is a mean, nasty chief named Tedadaho. And Tedadaho does not want peace. He wants to take over the world. Cannot take over the world if you have peace. So he gets really mad at Iowanta for teaching the men to stop fighting, and he comes up with a plan. His plan is to take advantage of a belief the Onondaga had. Now, they used to believe that if you were the last person left alive in your family and your whole family had died of a sickness, you were cursed. So, Tedadaho brews a potion, a poison, and slowly he puts it into the food of Iowanta's entire family. And day after day, they get sicker and sicker until finally all of them die, and Iowanta is the only one left alive. And Tedadaho jumps up and he goes, look Look, Iowanta's alive and his whole family died of an illness. You know what that means? That means he's cursed. You know why he's cursed? He's talking about that stupid peace idea. Peace. We're men. Peace is going to make us weak. We got to get rid of this guy. And all the men go, yeah, we got to get rid of this guy. And they chase Iowanta out of the village, and they follow Tedadaho back to war. Now, Iowanta is so sad that when the peacemaker finds him, he is laying by the great waters. He doesn't even want to live anymore. And the peacemaker looks at him and says, Iowanta, you were right about peace. It's Tedadaho who was wrong. And so he asks Iowanta a series of questions. What would he do if he came across somebody that felt so bad, that was so sad? And this led to something that the Haudenosaunee still do to this day, the condolence ceremony. So they go through this talking period, and this soothes Iowanta's heart. And then the peacemaker says, listen, Iowanta, I want to show you something. And he picks up a clamshell. You guys have seen clamshells before, probably. Hard clamshells where they're mostly white and they're sort of purple along the edge. Well, he picks up a shell like that and he says, listen, Iowanta, this shell is a message from the Creator. You see the shell is mostly white? The white is the color of peace and the Creator. So the shell is telling us that there should be more peace, love, gratitude, respect, kindness, happiness, and creativity. You see all the purple on the edge? Less and less anger, hatred, war, fear, greed, and destruction. With each new group of people that's born, each new generation, we are supposed to be getting wiser and kinder to each other until one day we can push out all the anger, hatred, war, fear, greed, and destruction. And on that day, all around the world, there will be peace. And the Haudenosaunee believe that day can come if we follow some very simple instructions. Simple but hard to do. So Iowanta feels much better now. They make those shells into wampum beads. Some people say that they picked up the beads along the way and that led them to each other. There are some different versions of this, but either way, the wampum beads are very powerful because of the message in the shell. And to this day, the Haudenosaunee use them whenever they're speaking. And if you're holding wampum when you're speaking, it means you're telling the truth. So they take their shells with them and they explain what they mean. And then the peacemaker, Iowanta, and Jaguntsase bring back together the 9 original clans. If no one would listen to the peacemaker since he stutters, Iowanta, who is a great speaker, would speak for him. And after about 40 years, they brought back the snipe, eel, bear, turtle, hawk, deer, beaver, heron, and wolf clans. Those loving families. They divided them into the 5 original nations. They gathered them around the great tree of peace, and the peacemaker gave them their instructions for how to live in peace, and they lived in peace for over 1,000 years. And these instructions were so influential that they became the basis for the United States Constitution. Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson spent a lot of time with the Haudenosaunee. And in our next session together, we're going to talk about how our government is similar and different from their governments. And you're going to get a little bit of that right now, because the first thing that the peacemaker said to these 5 nations was, if you want peace, and notice that every time he talks about peace, he says, if you want peace, the choice is ours. We, the people, have to make this choice. If you want peace, you must bury your weapons of war. But along with your weapons, you must bury all the hatred and greed in your hearts. Because wherever there is hatred and greed, there will never be peace. And so they buried their weapons. They forgave each other for the past. They let go of that past. And they moved on to form what we call the Iroquois Confederacy, the Haudenosaunee, the people of the Longhouse. When the peacemaker first introduced the government to them, he said to them, if you want peace, you must have a government where everyone's voice is heard, where all the laws are fair to everyone, and where men and women are equal. If you do not want those three things, you do not want peace. So it's that simple. It gives us the opportunity to look at the people around us, the countries around us, the leaders around us, the people who live in our neighborhood. And it gives us a chance to say, well, do they want peace or don't they want peace? Do they want what's best for everybody, or do they only want what's best for themselves? Do they only want revenge? Do they only want to be in control, to run the world like Ted Adaho? But I'm going to save that and how that resolves for the next session. And I hope you think about this. I really hope you think about this even on a personal level. When you look inside yourself, are you being the peace that you wish to see in the world, or is that not something you care for? Do you not care about peace? Do you just care about, I think I know what's right, and if I know what's right, I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to even find out what's right with you, because you're wrong, because you don't like what I think is right. And isn't that really the source of all conflict, inner and outer? I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. I should be this way. No, I shouldn't be that way. No, maybe I should listen to this one. No, maybe I should listen to that one. What's wrong with me? So within this story, there's all kinds of healing, not just for nations, but for us as individuals. So I asked the oracle, for those of you unfamiliar with the show, I do a form of oracle poetry where I receive poems from a divine source, and these poems started with me drawing mandalas, and during the drawing of a mandala, I would hear the start of the poem, I would write it, and they are messages. Originally, they were messages to me personally, but I've come to know that many of them are messages for the world, not just for me. So this morning I asked, how do we end war? And I'd like to read the poem I received, and you get to interpret it any way you like. Yellow and green, pink and blue, the colors of truth come shining through. If peace you want and peace you seek, then do not turn the colors bleak. You follow the light of all that is, and cast the shadow out of his, regarding how the truth came through. You know the players never knew that underneath the life of all is simply heard Creator's call. With love, respect, all seen as one, the whole of life beneath the sun, with love, respect, and gratitude that births the proper attitude, is where your spirit truly lies, and where there is no dark disguise. It shines its light and raises all to hear Creator's clarion call. Like those who only know the light, you're given angel wings of flight. If peace is what you want to see, then peace is who you'll truly be. The name Creator chooses here is love, for in it there's no fear. Rejoice in light, rejoice in love. Connect your spirit high above, and leave behind the cruel ways that bring about the end of days. This cruelty your ego needs is not the way to plant the seeds of growth and truth and all that's good. Now listen closely, as you should. Thank you so much for joining me again today, and I wish you peace, love, and joy. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you for joining us for Home Improvement for the Soul. If you'd like more information, please go to womensoneness.com or maddiecheers.com. That's womensoneness.com or maddiecheers.com. See you on the next episode.